What's up, Gear Mortals? Trey, Xavier here, and we're at Rosen Sound Studios in Burbank, California again to check out the PRS Archon high-gain guitar head and matching 4x12 cab. So we've had the Archon for about a month now. It's popped up, I'm sure you've seen in some of our videos, so you have a little bit of an idea of what it sounds like. But this is the first time that we've used it with the matching cab, and we've actually mic'd it up just with a 57, so you get an idea of what it'll actually sound like. Of course, you just heard the demo, and you heard what I think is the ideal sound that we got out of it. I did use an overdrive pedal in front of it, but it almost doesn't need it. It's that tight and good. Because I'm not super well versed on the ins and outs of amp building and what actually goes on inside of the head, I can only speak on what it sounds like to me. I found it to be an extremely clean, distorted sound, if that makes any sense. It's not like a dirty, kind of grungy distortion. It's like a really nice, saturated, without being gross. It's smooth and big sounding without being boomy. It's tight without sounding brittle. It's everything that I really look for in an amp. It's got plenty of gain for just about anything you would need. I did find it had slightly less than, say, like a 5150 or a rectifier. It's not lacking in gain, it's just you gotta crank it a little bit further than you would on some other kinds of metal amps. The amp is clearly voiced for modern metal. It's a very modern sound, it's tight, and it's nicely crunchy, but it still has this kind of vintagey, mid-range thing going on. It's not scooped like some metal amps. So the Archon is a 2-channel amp. There's a clean channel and a lead channel, and it's foot switchable between the two. It comes with a 2-button foot switch. The clean channel is super clean. I really love that. There's so many high-gain amps where the clean channel is just garbage, and I don't even know why they bother to put it in there. But on the Archon, it's clean all the way. It's lots of headroom, very sparkly sounding if you want it to be. I could have used a 3rd channel, but I don't necessarily think you need it. One thing I really liked about it is a separate master volume for the clean channel and the lead channel. That's a little stroke of genius if you ask me. Sometimes the clean channel is a lot louder and there's no option to set it to a separate master volume, so you have to make all kinds of compromises, and for live performance that sucks. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect way to do it. So that's a feature that I think all amps should have. I found the presence knob to be pretty powerful while the depth knob, on the other hand, was a little more subtle, and I think that's good, and here's why. It's really easy to dial in too much depth and not really be able to tell until it's too late, where the presence is usually immediately obvious if there's too much.
You know, the presence.
So, with a more subtle depth knob, it's almost foolproof. The control layout for each channel is identical. However, there is a bright switch on each channel that I really liked. A lot of times on an amp, you hit a bright switch and it's painful and harsh, but on the Archon, it just adds a little bit of sparkle that's really nice. This is a variable wattage amp, and there's a switch on the back that'll take it from 50 up to 100 watts, depending on your needs. Generally speaking, I like a lot of controls on an amp because you want to be able to dial in the tone that's the closest that you're looking for to the sound in your head. But in a case of an amp like an Archon, it's better that it's simple because pretty much anything you do with it sounds really good, and the controls are subtle enough that it's hard to screw up. So for this amp, having just the 3-band EQ and a volume for each channel, plus the bright switch, is totally enough. You're not going to get a huge variation of tones out of this amp, but all the tones that you'll get sound really great. It's a very distinct sound. So if you like the sound, when you get this amp, that's the sound you're going to get. And you can change it certain ways, but it's not going to make a huge difference. And that I really like. It sounds like it sounds. It sounds like the Archon. It doesn't sound like anything else. You can't flip a switch and get it to sound like a 5150. So if you heard it and you loved it, then you should probably get your hands on it because there isn't anything else that sounds exactly like it. The Archon's matching speaker cabinet is one of the very best 4x12s I've ever tried. It had the most consistent sound from speaker to speaker of any of the 4x12s that I've tried before, and that is really important because any speaker is going to be different, even if it's the same kind of speaker, will be different from the next one that comes off the factory line. Getting them to match up in the same cabinet is actually a pretty difficult task. So for PRS to have been able to do that is very impressive. The cab itself is extremely well built as well, very attractive, devastatingly handsome like Paul Reed Smith himself. I really like the sound of the cab. It cut without being harsh. I think that's maybe the overarching theme of this whole amp and cab combination. Very metal, high gain, crunchy, but it's not harsh. It's not brittle. It's got meat to it. So if you like meat, or if you're a vegetarian, that's okay too. It's got it all. It's a buffet of sounds and flavors, flavorful sounds. It's meaty in all the right places, or tofu-y if you prefer. If you're looking for an amp that has a very distinct voice, but still fits in very nicely in the modern metal genre, and is basically idiot-proof in terms of settings, then the PRS Archon is where it's at. And you're going to want to head over to prsguitars.com to learn more. I'd like to thank Rosen Sound Studios for letting us use their facilities to shoot this review today. For more information on them, check out www.rosen.digital. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please be sure to subscribe for more reviews and original content.
Subscribe.